a young soldier who stood alone against an entire German assault. He climbed onto a burning tank destroyer, surrounded by fire and steel, and turned a hopeless defense into an unforgettable stand. For that single hour of defiance, he earned the Medal of Honor and became the most decorated American soldier of World War II. Welcome to Chronicles of Courage. My name is David Henry Cross, and this is the story of Audie Murphy. France, January 26, 1945. The war in Europe was entering its final, violent winter. For weeks, Allied armies had fought to crush the German bridgehead known as the Colmar Pocket. The fields were frozen solid, the villages reduced to rubble. The snow hid the bodies of friend and foe. Every step was danger. Every day was survival. Near the small village of Holzwihr, the American 3rd Infantry Division was ordered to hold its sector at all costs. The enemy had already pushed them back again and again. Morale was hanging by a thread. Frostbite gnawed at fingers. Hunger dulled the mind. Sleep was a forgotten luxury. They no longer fought for victory, only to survive until morning. Every sunrise felt like a fleeting, undeserved mercy purchased with frozen sweat. In command of what was left of company stood 2nd Lieutenant Audie Murphy. Of more than 100 men who had started the campaign, barely 40 remained. Faces hollow, uniforms torn, weapons worn smooth by endless combat. Murphy was only 20 years old, small, light, but hardened by war. He had fought in Sicily, at Anzio, and through southern France. Each battle left scars, invisible but deep. The relentless noise and chaos had reshaped him, forging a quiet, lethal efficiency that defied his years. On his chest, the Silver Star, the Distinguished Service Cross, and 2 Purple Hearts glinted faintly beneath layers of grime. But that morning, medals meant nothing. Only endurance mattered. Only will. Then came the sound. A low mechanical growl, engines, treads, the sound of death rolling through the fog. German Panzer IV tanks, at least 6 of them, supported by a full company of infantry, moving directly toward their thin defensive line. Engines roared. The ground trembled. Dark silhouettes emerged from the mist, chilling even veterans to the bone. The air grew cold with the proximity of that crushing metal force. The moment of impact was inevitable. Murphy reacted instantly. He called for artillery fire and ordered his exhausted men to fall back into the woods, but he did not move. He stayed, exposed, alone, a single figure against the white horizon. He would be the eyes of his division. He knew the counterattack would begin and end right there, with him, providing crucial time for the others. The first shells screamed overhead. Explosions ripped through the snow. A German round slammed into an American M10 tank destroyer. A direct hit. The blast lifted the vehicle from the ground. Fire bursting from its hull. Black smoke coiled into the gray sky as burning fuel poured across the ditch. German infantry surged forward, shouting, firing, using the wreck as cover. Bullets hissed through the trees. Machine gun bursts tore branches apart. The air was thick with smoke, steam, dot, and the smell of hot metal. The American line began to collapse. Then Murphy did something no manual could ever explain. Instead of retreating, he ran toward the inferno. Snow burst beneath his boots as he sprinted across the field, a lone figure charging straight into the fire, a small shadow against the blinding blaze of the wreckage. He climbed onto the burning M10. The steel was blistering hot. Flames licked around his boots. Inside, ammunition was cooking off with thunderous cracks, but Murphy ignored it all. He grabbed the mounted .50 caliber machine gun, swung it toward the enemy, and opened fire. The weapon roared. Muzzle flashes tore through the smoke like lightning. German soldiers fell, regrouped, came again, but the storm of bullets held them back. He fired, adjusted, fired again with cold precision. The enemy could not believe the weapon's sustained, unrelenting hail. They were pinned down by one man. Spent shells rained down around him. He was no longer just a man. He was the line itself. Over the radio, his men heard his voice, calm and steady. He said quietly, "They're coming closer. Send artillery on my position." He was calling fire on himself. Moments later, shells exploded around the wreck, shaking the earth. Shrapnel shredded trees, snow, and bodies. Still, Murphy fired. Each pull of the trigger was an act of defiance, a vow that the line would not break. For nearly an hour, he fought alone. His concentration was absolute, a mechanical dance between man and machine against overwhelming odds. The Germans attacked from three sides. The field before him became a graveyard of burning steel and broken men. His single stand broke the spearhead of the German thrust, leaving chaos in its wake. When the gun finally fell silent, there was only the wind. No sound, no movement. Across the white field, the shapes of fallen men lay still, some motionless, others barely moving. German soldiers, wounded and freezing, called out weakly for help that would never come. Their voices faded into the wind, swallowed by the snow. Only silence remained, heavy and unreal. Murphy climbed down from the blazing M10, limping, blood seeping through his bandage. He looked across the devastation and did the unthinkable. He ordered a counterattack. His men, inspired by his stand, surged forward. They retook the ground he had defended alone. The momentum of his defiance carried the company to victory, reclaiming what was lost. That day, one soldier stopped an entire assault and saved his company from destruction. When asked later why he had done it, he answered softly, "Because they were killing my friends." Those 6 words defined him more than any medal ever could. They were not spoken with pride, but with quiet truth. The truth of a man who had seen too much. A truth carved from mud and blood, heavier than any gold medal. June 2nd, 1945. Audie Murphy received the Medal of Honor. By the end of the war, he held every major U.S. combat decoration for valor, and several foreign awards as well. He returned home to parades and headlines, but the battle inside him never ended. Nightmares, sudden noises, guilt. They haunted his nights. He was a hero to the public, but a prisoner to his own memories of the front lines. Today we call it PTSD. Back then, it was simply called nerves. But Murphy refused to hide it. He spoke openly, testified before Congress, and became one of the first veterans to demand real mental health care for returning soldiers. He said quietly, "Combat leaves scars you can't see." In 1955, he starred in To Hell and Back, the film of his own story. He played himself, reliving every explosion, every scream, every loss. Audiences saw a hero. He felt only ghosts. The script forced him to confront the traumas he had hoped to bury, facing his past for the world to see. Fame never changed him. He gave most of his earnings to family and to veterans in need. He lived simply, quietly. And when people called him a hero, he would just say, "The real heroes are still over there." May 28, 1971. A small plane went down in the misty hills of Virginia. Among the dead was Audie Murphy, soldier, actor, and quiet witness of war. He was only 45 years old. The news spread quickly. For many, it felt as if the courage of a generation had fallen silent. A nation mourned the passing of its most genuine and reluctant hero, a symbol of unmatched bravery. At Arlington National Cemetery, his grave is simple. a white stone among thousands, yet one of the most visited in America. Not for its size, but for what it stands for. And in Holtzfir, where snow and fire once met, a lone monument marks the ground he defended. When the evening wind moves through the trees, it seems to carry an echo, the slow rhythm of a .50 caliber machine gun, and a calm young voice on the radio saying quietly, "They're coming closer. Sent artillery on my position." Courage is not the absence of fear. It is the mastery of it. It is standing your ground when no one else can. Audie Murphy did just that. For his men, for his country, for history. If you believe courage should never be forgotten, subscribe for more true stories of heroism. Whose courage deserves to be remembered next? Share your thoughts in the comments. Thanks for watching.